30 degrees this morning when I woke up, cold outside. Now, this is one of the places where we have homeless people sleep real often at night. We had a woman here this morning who really severe mental issues. There was a pile of blankets over here, and I had thought she was sitting up in that pile, so I came in and it was the most interesting thing. There were a bunch of clothes and bags over here, and so I went to move them. And when I moved them into the Jackets for Jesus room on the other side of campus, I heard a bonking sound when I set them down, and I looked, and at the bottom of them was a coffee container, and it happened to be one that I had purchased and given to someone. I thought it was funny here. It was being donated back. So I went in and washed it off, and I had already made coffee early at 5 this morning, and so I filled it with coffee, and I brought it out, and I attended. There was blankets sitting right here in a pile, and I thought there was a person under the blanket, so I shook it. Excuse me. And all of a sudden, from over here, coming this direction out in our park, I heard a voice yelling, hey, that's my stuff. Don't mess with it. And a skinny girl came out, maybe 30 years old, came out smoking a cigarette, pushing a bicycle, and said, that's my stuff. I said, well, you keep on finding all this drug paraphernalia here. You keep on finding all this trash. If you're going to sleep here, you need to clean it up. You really shouldn't be here. And I said, here's some coffee. What about the container? Yeah, you can keep it. Nice stainless steel coffee container. Holds 24 ounces of hot coffee that I was able to give to her. I said, don't sleep here anymore. Oh, yeah, I won't be here again, but I'm guessing she'll be here again tonight because really, it's an empty space. And it was 30 degrees last night. Freezing cold out. And she's homeless. Homeless means this. It means she's poor. She's a poor person. And we've got enough wealth that, empty spaces. We've got an abundance of empty spaces. We don't just have empty spaces. We've got lovely flowers, even when it's 30 degrees. We've got a beautiful courtyard. We enjoy the sunrise. We've got a place where already this morning there were people in prayer. The doors were open to her. She just didn't come over. We had people who shared in communion in the sanctuary here. And now as I get ready to go back to my office to work on my message, I thought I'd cut through the sanctuary and just do this. I've been working on an idea that's kind of been plaguing me out. 32 years ago yesterday, we came to Riverside. And so 32 years ago this morning, I came over here for one of my first mornings of prayer, all on my own. And I walked in this building. We've transformed it. Obviously the frame is the same, but the way the pews are, the way the stage, different flooring, different everything, you name it. We've done different interior paint, different everything. It's been a different sound system, different everything has been transformed in the last 32 years. A couple of times, in fact, we've put new roofs on a couple times. Everything here has been roofed, everything. In 32 years, a lot of stuff changes. The cross has remained the same. But I've thought about just this building. I think it's 42 feet at the peak, if I remember right, something like that. 42 feet, which means it could be 4 stories. Which means that we could go ahead and we could make this a 1-story building down below and seat just as many people, put the stage over here, and we could put 2 more stories up above and use the roof, which is just a nice sloped roof that gets sunlight, winter and summer, directly on it, put solar panels on it for ventilation and heating to run through here, and we could easily house up above, just in this empty space, 100 people. And we could use it for housing on a regular basis for 100 people that are right now on the streets. Riverside says they have just under 500 homeless people. Now imagine we could house approximately, I'm guessing, a fourth of those people every single night right up here, so that not one of them had beer. And I'm guessing we could do the whole thing for probably $2 million. We could go ahead, and we've got an empty space of lawn right out here in front of the street to Arlington Avenue. We could turn that into a food court with a patio over it, that people could come in. We could invite businesses to come in, put their food court in here and say, and for the homeless people that are staying here, would you mind feeding them and other people? And if you want to support the homeless, you can come and you can eat at this food court. You can share here, and a percentage of your money from the food court is going to go to take care of this. We could use open hearts, because not one of us have a closed heart, I don't believe. All of us want to help someone, to transform empty spaces. Don't you love that little slogan? Open hearts, transforming empty spaces. And each one of us, we have empty spaces in our lives. Here at the church, it may be 35 feet of empty room up above where we worship, that we could easily just go ahead and put steel girders across in here, the lower level steel girders up again above, and then go ahead and just panel the whole thing out and frame it out and have 2 stories of housing for a fourth of the homeless of the entire city of Riverside. People sleeping in the river bottom, people sleeping down in Massachusetts, people sleeping down on 3rd. All those streets here in Riverside, we could say, hey, no one has to be here. When the police go in, they're getting hassled because, hey, could you go take these homeless that are sleeping on our property away from here? They could come, hey, we've got a spot for you. They could bring them here, they could welcome them here, they could bring them into the food court, they could have coffee at a little Starbucks that's gonna be in the food court if they did that. And then they could bring them right up in here and say, here's a place for you, feel free. Make yourself at home. There could be a kitchen, there could be an open area, there could be a spot for entertainment in the middle. This could be designed beautifully. There's more than enough space if we just transformed it. I've discovered that in all of our lives, it's not just here at the church, in all of our lives, in our homes physically, in our lives spiritually, in our time, we have so much empty space. And we have to question whether or not we have an open heart to transform it, to do something good, to be something positive for God. You see, because if we want to take our lives from being genuinely mediocre, which way too many of us lead mediocre lives, into something incredibly miraculous, we have to be willing to have an open heart to transform those empty spaces into something miraculous for God. We could start right here in our very own empty spaces before pointing a finger at someone else. You can start right there in your own empty spaces before pointing a finger at anyone else. Let's do it together today. Let's start looking around in our own lives for the empty spaces that we can change. Let's start looking around in our own lives and say, I've got some empty spaces. I've got an open heart. I want to make use of them. Because empty spaces just aren't physical space. They're spiritual space. There's space in our calendar. There's space in our time that we could be doing something with someone else. Me, I'm going to Siempre today. Give me a call. You can jump in the car and you can come down to Siempre with me. It's going to be an incredible day. I'm using my empty space, and I'm going to open up my heart to just share the miracle. Come be the miracle with me. Whatever you do, wherever you're at, be the miracle. Have a fantastic day.